Hello everyone and welcome back. It's Gina from orchidandopal.com, and today I have a tutorial for you for the bezeled Czech glass cabochon that came in the Moonlit Terrace curated box that I helped to put together with Beading School. You can see that black cabochon below with the Picasso finish, and we're going to be bezeling that with some 11-0 seed beads, some 11-0 Delicas, 15-0 seed beads, half Tilas, 3mm fire polish, and some 2mm round glass beads. Everything that you need will be found in the Moonlit Terrace box if you were able to get your hands on one. I will also link that box down below in case it is still available. If not, I will also have everything listed out individually so you can pick up those items outside of the box as well. And to give you an idea of how different things can look if you use different colors, maybe you have these beads in your stash already or something of similar size. Here is a much more colorful version of this pendant done in an almost exact copy of what we're about to do today, using the same shapes and sizes of beads, but as you can see, in just a totally different palette. So have fun with your color choices. If you didn't pick up Moonlit Terrace, or if you want to try out some different colors, you can achieve some really fun results. I'll be using some 6-pound Fireline today, and you can also use a size 10, 11, or 12 beading needle. This particular pendant has a split herringbone style bail that is really simple. You are welcome to create a different bail if you'd like to. You could even add this to a seed bead rope or something besides a chain. This is just an example. And today we'll just be working on the pendant itself, and I'll show you how I created that simple bail. So to get started, go ahead and thread your beading needle with a comfortable length of beading thread. Gather up your materials and we will jump into this tutorial. All right, we will begin bezeling this 24mm round cabochon by first picking up 58 of our size 11-0 Miyuki round seed beads. And I like to pick them up 10 beads at a time and slide them down. That way it helps me keep track how many beads I have already picked up, and I want to make sure that I pick up exactly 58. So double check that you have 58 seed beads on your thread and leave yourself about a 6-inch tail that you can weave back in later. All right, now what you'll do is you're going to take your needle and you'll sew back through all 58 of those seed beads again. Go through a few beads at a time and go a little bit past where you started. You're welcome to add a stop bead on if you're more comfortable using one to keep your tension. And come out right after that seed bead where I started. You can see that we have a loop right here. And what we're going to do is continue on in peyote stitch. And we're going to string on 2 more rows using the same color. So of course, we'll pick up a bead, skip over the next bead, and go through the next one. Repeat that, pick up a bead, skip the next one, and go through the next. Pick up a bead, skip the next one and go through the next. And of course, do this all the way around until you get to the beginning again, which is where you'll step up and do another round, but let's keep going. right, so I'm at my last bead for this first round of peyote. I'm gonna go up through the next bead as normal. And then I'm gonna step up to my next row. And let's continue completing another round of peyote stitch just like this, using our same seed beads. Alright, now with your 2 peyote rows done in the 11-0 rounds, we're going to switch over to our 11-0 Delicas. So you'll pull those out. I've already stepped up for the start of my next row, and you'll continue on with your Delica beads next. Do 1 row of Delica beads, and then we're going to do 2 rows of 15-0 round seed beads to cinch it up a little bit. That's going to form the front of our bezel. So keep going with your Delicas, and we will meet back as we begin our 15-0s. And welcome back. So we have our Delicas in place now, and I've stepped up right here. So I'm coming out of this Delica, and I've pulled out my 15-0 seed beads. I'll be using the matte black, and we're going to complete now 2 rounds of 15-0 seed beads going around on top of the Delicas. So keep going, now adding those size 15-0s in. Keep pulling this tight as you go because we want this to start cinching up a little bit. That's going to hold our cabochon in place. And once you have done those 2 rows, we will meet back and continue on with our next steps. All right, so we're just about done here with this part of our bezel. I'm just adding in my last 15-0 and going up through those next 2. And at this point, I suggest that you go around the central 15-0s again just to reinforce that section because that's going to be holding in your cabochon. Also put a needle on your tail thread and go ahead and weave that back in and trim off any excess to get that out of the way. And then we will meet back and we will continue with the next steps of this bezel. All right, so with that front area reinforced and the tail thread out of the way, you can then follow your thread path with your working thread and weave your way back and forth through these beads so that you are coming out on the other side of your bezel because we're going to start working on the back. So I'm going to just go through some seed beads and I'm coming out of one of these seed beads that's sticking out on the back and just flipping this over, and we're going to continue with our peyote stitch. We're going to actually pull out our 11-0 Delicas again and do 1 round of 11-0 Delicas on this side. And once we are done with that 1 row of Delicas, we will meet back and we're going to start cinching this up around our cabochon. All right, so we have our back row of Delicas in place now, and we can go ahead and grab that cabochon and pop that right over top of our cabochon, just like that, and flip the piece over. You can see that if we tuck this in, it's fitting perfectly inside of what we have so far. And now what we're going to do is just finish off the back of this bezel in these peyote rows by proceeding on with 2 rows of 15-0s to cinch up the back. So I'm coming out of this Delica right here. I already stepped up, got my 15-0s, and I'm just going to continue on now that my cabochon is sitting in there, and we will tighten up our beadwork right around the cabochon. And once those 2 rows of 15-0s are complete, we will meet back and continue on with the embellishment of the sides of our piece. And welcome back again. So there is a look at the back of the seed bead peyote portion of this bezel. You can see that the 2 rows of black 15-0s are now complete. And just like we did on the front, I suggest going around the 15-0s again to reinforce this. I'm actually going to do that, and then I'm going to tie and knot off this working thread that I've been using because I'm getting towards the end of that. And then I'm going to start a new thread before we continue with the next steps and embellish the sides of our piece. So I will meet you back in just a moment. All right, and welcome back. So I have gone ahead and added in my new thread, woven in the tail thread, and the point that we want to be coming out at is if we look on the side, you can see in your rows of these gray colored 11-0 seed beads, I'm coming out of one of these rows towards the back, and it's the one that sticks up a little bit. So be coming out of one of those seed beads in order to be in position for the next step. We're going to be adding in our 2mm round beads, skipping every other space, but still going around in peyote stitch and putting them all around the sides. So get to the point where you're coming out of this position right here and grab your 2mm rounds. And what we're going to do is we'll pick one up and we will look across our piece, and we don't want to go through the very next seed bead on either side. We want to skip over those and go through the next one. So looking straight ahead, go through the one that's in that same line or same position. And then pull, and you can see we have one in place now at this point. And instead of going ahead and picking up another and adding that in, we're actually going to go directly through the next seed bead in that same line. Then we'll pick up another 2mm, and looking straight ahead, we want to go through this next seed bead. So go through that one and place your 2mm next along the side. Then you want to go directly through the next seed bead in that line to create even more of a gap in between your 2mm beads that you're placing. And now we're ready to pick up another 2mm and go directly through the next seed bead in that line. So you can see we have 3 in place here, and we're just adding one of those every other space, peyote style, along that same row. And you're going to keep going in that same manner all the way around, and you're going to stop with a little bit wider of a gap in between the last 2mm that you add and the first one. It's going to actually have 3 spaces in between. So keep going, adding your 2mm in. You should have a total of 14 that you've added in along the sides, and then we'll meet back and continue on. And welcome back again. So you can see we have our 2mm in place, and we have that slightly wider gap there that's going to be at the top, which is where our bail is going to be. And I am currently coming out of this seed bead right here, and I'm just going to continue on through these 11-0s until I can reach the first 2mm that I get to. So just follow your thread path through these 11-0s, just whatever way is easiest for you to get through the one right before that first 2mm, so that you can go up through that one and start adding in more of the beads around the side. And I'm at that point, so I'm stepping up through the first 2mm. And what we're going to do now is add in a 15-0, a half Tila, and a 15-0 in between each of these 2mm beads until we get to the section where the bail is going to be. So pull out those 2 types of beads. We're going to pick up that 15, the half Tila, and the 15, and then just sew directly through the next 2mm bead that we get to. And we're going to continue doing that all the way around. See, we've got 2 in place now, 15, half Tila, and a 15, and through the next one. So keep doing that, and once you have all those in place up until this point, we will meet back for the next step. All right, so I'm going through my last one, for the larger split. And then in that larger space, we're going to pick up a 15-0, a half Tila, 15-0, half Tila, another 15-0, and then we're going to go through that first 2mm bead, just like that. And this is what you should have so far. Now what you'll want to do is grab your 3mm fire polish, and we are going to be attaching one 3mm fire polish on top of every 2mm round. So I've picked one up, I'm coming out of this 2mm, I'm going to go back through the same 2mm round, and I'm also going to continue on through the next 15-0, half Tila, and 15-0, same holes, until I'm coming out of the next 2mm. So I'm going through that next 2mm as well. And this will all come together more clearly in the next step, but we're basically just attaching one of those 3mm over top every 2mm bead in such a way that it's going to make the side of this piece more sturdy. So pick up another 3mm, go back through the same 2mm that you are coming out of, go through the next 15-0, half Tila, 15-0, and then come out of the next 2mm bead to continue on. Just make sure that your beads don't get hung up on those half Tilas that are sticking out. We'll do one more together. So picking up a 3mm, going through the 2mm, 15-0, half Tila, and coming out the next 2mm. And just pulling this so that it sits right over the top. So keep doing that all the way around, and we'll meet back once we get to that last 2mm. All right, so I'm at my last one. I'm picking up that 3mm and going through the 2mm. I'm also going to go through the 15-0 and the next half Tila, but I'm going to stop at that point, and I'm going to turn around and also step up. So when you're coming out of the half Tila that is at the right there where that bail is going to be, turn around, go in the other direction, stepping up through that half Tila bead. That puts you on that outer ring of holes and ready to continue on. And what we're going to do now is add a 15-0 at either side of the 3mm and connect all the outer holes of the half Tila beads. So I picked up a 15-0, went through the 3mm, picking up a 15-0, going through the next half Tila, picking up a 15-0, going through the 3mm, picking up a 15-0, going through the half Tila, and so on. And we're going to do this all the way around, and that is going to get these beads on the side straightened out for us and all connected. So just keep adding in a 15-0 in between each of those sections, and we will meet back once we get to the other side of the bail location. All right, so once you have reached that bail section, now we can just pick up 3 of our 15-0s and go through the outer hole of that next half Tila. Just like that, and you can see now all of those outer holes are connected. And coming out of the outer hole of this half Tila right here, we're going to do a little bit more with seed beads around several times. What we're going to do is pick up a 15-0, and I've brought in my Delicas and I've brought in those 11-0s back. I'm going to also pick up a Delica, an 11-0, a Delica, and a 15-0. So I have these 5 seed beads now on my needle. And I'm just going to go through the outer hole of the very next half Tila bead. Just like that. So do that all the way around. So coming out of the half Tila, pick up a 15-0, a Delica, an 11-0, a Delica, and a 15-0. And then just go through the next half Tila bead. So you get the idea there. So just keep doing that now all the way around till you get to the other side of your bail area. At that point, we'll meet back and I'll show you what to do next. All right, once you have all those seed beads on, just press this flat. Make sure you have an even amount of tension all the way around your piece so that none of those seed beads are hiding back behind the 3 millimeters or anything. And what you can do now is just continue on, go through those next 3 15-ohs, go through the half Tila there on the right side of the bail area. Now go up through the next 15-oh, and you're going to pick up the following sequence all the way around. You're going to pick up a Delica, 3 15-ohs, and a Delica, then go through the 15-oh that's on the end there, as well as the half Tila, and be coming out of the next 15-oh. And you're going to repeat that again. So Delica, 3 15-ohs, and a Delica, then go through the last 15-oh, the half Tila, and the next 15-oh. Let's do that again. Delica, 3 15-ohs and a Delica, and go through that 15-oh on the end, the half Tila, as well as the next 15-oh. And once again, as you go, you can just press these flat to make sure you're not pulling too tight, but not keeping them too loose, but just so that they are sticking up over the existing seed beads that we had already added. Keep going doing that until you get to the other side of the bail. All right, so I'm at my last section right here, right before the bail area. I've got those same seed beads on my needle that I would have had all the way around. And this time I'm just going to go through the 15-oh that is at the end, and then I'm going to pick up 10 15-ohs. And then sew directly through that next single 15-oh on the other side, just like that. And we created this little peak here of 15-oh seed beads. And now we're going to go up through the Delica and the next 15-oh. And we're going to add in the last seed beads to each of these outer points and actually make them a little bit more pointed. So once we're coming out of the 15-oh right there on this point, we can pick up a 15-oh, an 11-oh, and a 15-oh. And then skip that middle 15-oh that's right there, go down through the next 15-oh, and Delica, and 15-oh. Just like that. And if you place that properly in there, you can see that what that did is created more of a point on that section. Now you'll just continue on through the next half Tila. And also sew through the next 15-oh, the next Delica, and the next 15-oh, and repeat what you just did, which was to pick up a 15-oh, an 11-oh, and a 15-oh. Then you'll skip that center 15-oh, go down that third one, also go down the Delica, and go down the next 15-oh, and create your next peak. Continue doing that all the way around. Get yourself in position again by going through the half Tila, go through the next 15-oh, and up through the Delica and the 15-oh. Then pick up a 15-oh, an 11-oh, and a 15-oh. Skip the middle 15-oh, go down that third one, then the Delica, and then the next 15-0. Lace those in there just like that and continue on. So keep doing that all the way until you get to the other side of the veil, and we will pick up with the next step, which is to create that double herringbone, really simple split veil. All right, so the main part of the beading is all done. You should have something that looks like this, and I am coming out of the 15-0 right here to the left of this loop that we created, and I'm just going to go through the next 4 15-0 seed beads and be coming out of that 4th one, and we're going to make 2 strips of herringbone that are 2 seed beads wide, and there are multiple ways you can create a veil. This is just one example, so feel free to do your own thing if you want to do something different than this. But to create that split veil that I had done that you can simply slip some chain into, we are going to start with our first strip of herringbone on the left. To get that started, let's pick up 2 more 15-0s and let's sew through the 2 15-0s right here. So that would be number 3 and 4, once again, that we're going through to loop 2 beads on top of those. Coming out of that 4th 15-0 at the bottom once again, just going to proceed up through that first seed bead we added in that next group. Then I'm going to pick up 2 more 15-0s and go down the one that we had just added on the left. Then I'm going to go up through the 2 on the right. Then I'm going to pick up 2 more. I'm going to go down through the seed bead on the top left, and then I'm going to go up through the 2 seed beads on the right. We're going to do this until we have a strip that is consisting of 14 rows of 2. So we have 3 rows on now. Let's keep going. Pick up 2 more and go down the one on the left, and then go up the 2 on the top right. And if you know how to do herringbone stitch, this will be a piece of cake. Let's keep going. Pull this nice and tight all together each time. So now we have 5 rows. Keep doing this until you have a total of 14 rows, and then we'll meet back and attach this, creating our first loop. All right, so here's that first strip of 14 rows, and what we can do now is I'm just going to flip my piece over and start to curve this down into a loop. And I'm coming out of the left-hand side, and I want to go through the same 2 seed beads that we had started attaching that strip to on that original loop right here. So I went through those 2, and now I'm going to go up through all of the seed beads in this herringbone strip on the right-hand side. This is just going to reinforce it. Go through as many as you can at once and continue down. Go through those last 4 and pull. And now I'm going to head through those 2 15-0s once again that are on that original bottom loop. And then this time I'm going to go through all of the 15-0s on the left-hand side of that herringbone strip. Flip my piece back over to the front. Pull. And now just to strengthen this area a little bit, instead of going directly over and creating a new row right away, I'm actually going to go through those 4 15-0s on this original loop, once again heading off to the left. And then I'm going to head through the half Tila that's right below, as well as the next 3 seed beads, the 15-0s, and the next half Tila. That's going to bring that together just a little bit more. Then I'm going to go through the first 4 15-0s on the other side. And now what you'll do on this side is create another identical loop, leaving 2 of the 15-0s in the middle with nothing on the top, and attaching your next strip of herringbone to these 2 seed beads. So it's 2 without anything, then you have 2 with the strip, 2 without anything, 2 with a strip, and then 2 without anything. So it's symmetrical along that loop. So once again, what we did before was pick up 2 15-0s and then head back through the 2 15-0s on that bottom row where we're going to get that strip started. Go up through the 1 15-0, pick up 2 more. We'll go down through the one on the right this time. And up through the 2 on the left. Pull nice and tight and keep going until you have a strip of 14 rows and create that loop just like you did before. And before we had done it with the back facing us. So of course that's going to be what you can do for this one as well if you don't want to get confused as far as picking up 2. Before we had gone down 1 on the left and up 2 beads on the right. And it just switches directions if your piece is flipped over, of course. So continue on and make your strip that's 14 rows long, and we will meet right back and finish up this piece. All right, so with our strip now done, once again, we can just fold this over and go through those first 2 15-0s once again. And just bring this into a loop just like we did with the other one. Then we can go up through all those 15-0s on the left. Bring those all together. And then I'm going to go back through those 2 seed beads on the original row. They're at the bottom to get over to the other side of that herringbone strip so I can reinforce the other side. And I'm going to go through all those beads. And now we can just go down through the 4 15-0s that are on this side of the piece. Feel free to switch to a smaller needle if you're having any trouble getting through these beads, because I like to go through that section one more time. So back through the half Tila, the 3 15-0s right in the middle. I'll even go down this half Tila, the single seed bead and the half Tila, and loop around this section just to make sure that's brought all together. Exiting out of the half Tila, and then going through that loop of 15-0s just one more time And then at that point, feel free to weave and knot off your thread, and you are done with the beadwork. All right, everyone, so that is it for this pendant. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you found it easy for you to follow, even though there were quite a number of steps. I really appreciate you being here. Once again, right down below the video, I will link everything that I used today, which you can also find on Beading School, and also everything is in that Moonlit Terrace box if you were able to get your hands on that, or if it's still available. If not, you can find everything individually in all different colors, of course, at Beading School, and also use this application to bead around any 24mm round cabochon if you want to do a different style than the Czech glass piece that we used today. Feel free to leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you plan to give this a try or have given it a try, or anything else you'd like to say. Feel free to give the video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Also, feel free to share with your beading friends. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified of when I'm posting more tutorials just like this one. Until next time, I will be back again real soon, and as always, happy beading!